nothing to it. Go ahead and bring Goliath on. Ain't no giant, I ain't gon' fire on. Catch a fade, you I'm warm, I'm gone. Y'all can catch the wave that I am on. I am icon, y'all are wide wrong. Think that I'm gonna reconcile bonds. Here ain't nothing to it though. This is on me, ain't got much to do with who you know. Keeping it true to from 10 L's into a milli though. But they already knew that those farewell to your opinions. Know that he is so. This is all me, ain't got much to do with who you know. Yeah, keeping it true to form, but they already knew that, y'all. Here we go.
It's the Saturday Pigskin Week 2 style coming at you from downtown Mansfield, Ohio. I'm Brian Skronsky, joined by the boys, Effie James and Eric Will. And let's not beat around the bush. Let's get right into it. Give me like a quick 10-second observation. 2 weeks into the football season, what are you seeing out there, Coach?
You know what? Ashland is in a little bit of trouble, so we're going to see how they respond week 3. Shelby's playing really, really well as the Tigers are. Plymouth's playing well. Lucas is doing what Lucas always does. So week 3, I think we're going to start seeing some separation.
All right, what about you, F?
Okay, week 2 for me was about, it's a reality check. Week 1 is about getting out, getting the juices flowing, and really playing against other competition. Week 2 is a reality check, and we had some teams that really showed who they were. Some teams kind of came back to earth this week. Some teams accelerated. So it was a really fun week to see how teams responded after playing a big week 1 game.
All right, let's go ahead and show you guys how it all went down for some Richland County teams as we spin back all the highlights from Friday night right now on the Run Back. Here we go, Madison on the road in Caledonia last night. Rams looking for their first win of the season, and they would get on the board first, second straight week. Dom Snavely putting Madison up 7-0, but River Valley answers right back. Luke Rogers finds his way in, all knotted up midway through the second quarter. Vikings later would take the lead, and they never gave it away. We saw flashes from the Rams again this week, guys. They get the early lead, but just can't hang on.
Well, it's a good sign for Madison fans that they are at least understanding how to compete and starting games fast. They just got to learn some consistency and keep it going into the second half. That comes with confidence.
Isaac Brooks there you saw had 3 grabs on the night, but River Valley rolls in this thing. 39-14 Madison falling to 0-2. Clear Fork looking for their 22nd consecutive regular season win, unveiling some brand new turf at the Colt Corral 2. The whole community was geeked about this. I think everybody had to chip in at least $5 to pay for that stuff out there. Everyone's excited in the valley, and they were cheering early too. Here's Tacoma Ore giving Clear Fork a 7-zip edge, but man, it came and it went. Here comes Granville. Doak Buttermore, remember the name, had an awesome night. 3 total touchdowns for him. This gave the Blue Aces the lead, and they would never look back. Guys, the Colts go down in their home opener. I didn't see this one coming.
Yeah, you know what? When you think about opening a new, not a new facility, but just with new turf, a lot of excitement. They haven't lost a game, and it feels like forever. You got to give Granville credit coming up. Obviously, matching them athlete for athlete. They were very physical. Definitely deserved the win.
Lucas was on the road again, taking on a tough Centerburg team, and it didn't take Carson Hogger long to get the Cubs on the board, taking back the opening kickoff all the way to pay dirt. And the Cubs, well, they would be on top 14-7 here. Centerburg would get on the board, but that hungry Hogger kept it going. 75-yard bomb from Logan Nicewander. Man, this is a great 1-2 combo that we're seeing so far going early in the season.
Yeah, with the athletes they have, Hogger is just a tremendous athlete, and now they have a trigger man that can get him the football in space, and he's really taking advantage here in the first couple weeks.
38-14. Lucas would go on to win this game. Big expectations, though, for the Trojans. They got some dudes, but man, the Cubs, they proved in this game that they're a team to be reckoned with in Division 7 again as they win on the road. Let's go over to Arlen Field. Mansfield Senior hosting John Hay, the second straight home game for the TY Tigers, and it was a big night for Terrence Flickinger. 100 yards on the ground, and he had a couple of scores. Angelo Gross, kind of quiet last week in the win over Norwalk. He made his presence felt last night. 71-point return touchdown here, F, and just, the guy beats you in so many different ways.
Right, he's the best athlete on the field, and it was great to see the Tigers get some balance offensively. Defense played well last week, and it was a chance for the offense to get on pace. John Hay is a struggling team, so sometimes it's good to get your offense some confidence. But I didn't see any letdown from the Tigers from last week. They played with great energy and still made some big plays.
Yeah, big balance, 41-0. The Tigers put it on John Hay as they move to 2-0. Speaking of teams looking to go to 2-0, here's a Richland County rivalry at Skiles Field. And man, the first offensive play for Lexington, a little bit of trickery for the guys in the purple and white jerseys there. It's the halfback toss. Alex Green takes it into the end zone. Lexington led this thing 7-6, but then Shelby took over. 5 touchdowns from McGuire Albert through the air in this game. But I really think the story, Coach, gotta be that Whippets defense.
Yeah, no doubt. You know, when you're talking about coming in, making the team one-dimensional, Shelby was able to take that one dimension away, which was their running game. You know, Caden Berry, the Thomas kid, Alex Green, all good athletes. The Whippets kept them as a collective group in check. Coach Amicone, Coach Mahaney, that defense lights out last night.
Yeah, Shelby rolls 42-14 at home. The Whippets move to 2-0. Well, Eric, you saw with your own eyes what Shelby did last night to Lexington, as did I. I mean, it's hard not to be impressed with what you saw from the Whippets against the Lexington team that, from what we saw last week, looked like they were pretty quality, at least had some explosive athletes.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that Shelby's game plan was to stop the run. Even the first play of the game, I mean, they were so loaded up and their eyes were so focused in the backfield that their eye discipline the first play kind of let them down. Trust your reads. But after that, I mean, it was all Shelby. Shelby did such a great job of controlling line of scrimmage. You know, Brian and I, we talked last night about the trenches, and Shelby was just far superior. Their front 4, and even at times their front 3 when they went to the dime and nickel package, they were just controlling up front. And you know, when you have those kind of athletes on the edge and on the perimeter for Shelby, that also allows you to keep things bottled up inside. And their 2 interior guys did a good job of controlling the front.
Another game that I want to touch on real quick is the Lucas journey out there to Centerburg and getting a win over a team that they got a lot of expectations out there in Centerburg. And specifically what I want to talk about was there was a newspaper article that was written by a local newspaper that said the Centerburg should win by 3 touchdowns. And Lucas used that as bulletin board material all week. And on the sideline, I guess they kept saying, 21 underdogs. The Lucas players were saying that. So I'd like to know from your guys' perspective as former players and coaches, how much does bulletin board material matter and how much can you actually use that to juice up your squad on a Friday night?
Well, I think to be honest, it means a lot, and to start the game. To me, in my experience, it gets you through warm-ups, it gets you through kickoff, maybe the first snap or 2, but after that, the game is the game.
Right.
And it'll get you all hyped up and you're jumping around during the game. But when the game starts after the first few snaps, it's about who's going to execute. It doesn't matter what has been said about you in the press. So generally, games aren't decided by bulletin board material, but it is something good as a coach to get your team focused on the little things that you have to work on.
Was that something that you like to do, Coach, was to go
Yeah,
over to your players
like
and tell them something?
I'm about 100% in agreement with everything Effie said there. The bulletin board material, even these huge rivalries that you see in the NFL, college, the bottom line is when the ball's snapped, it's Jimmy's and Joe's going at it. It's game plans. It's preparation. It's your scouting report against theirs. You know, a newspaper article's never won or lost a game. So now, having said that, I think that it might help during preparation to continually remind your players that there are significant doubters, especially in the media, that are questioning you. So that might help you with a little bit of extra focus. But once the game starts, Effie's 100% correct. I think that stuff's way overblown. I think the parents and the community worry far more about that stuff than the players on the field.
That's probably fair. A couple other results that we didn't have video for: Ashland going on the road and losing 28-14 at Clyde, and then Ontario going on the road and getting their first win of the season against Highland 28-7. Any surprises from either of those results to either of you?
You know, of course, Ashland, not the fact that Clyde actually won the game. Clyde is a quality program. It's just the fact of seeing Ashland now sitting at 0-2 is unfamiliar territory for the Arrows. And you know, so when you look at their schedule moving forward, you kind of think about, and I know the coaching staff they're trying to keep the kids from doing that, but looking at them going forward thinking, oh my God, could we be 0-3? So that's a little bit of a surprise to see them drop another game this early in the season. But again, I feel like they'll be okay. They're built to turn around once the timing and things get better. They will get some wins. Ashland will not continue to struggle.
Yeah, just piggybacking off that really quickly. Ashland has some really good players, really good coaching staff, but their schedule is probably their biggest weakness, meaning they're playing a gauntlet's row. And then they got Columbia next week, who, by the way, is 2-0 and one of the favorites in the SBC. So they just don't get a scheduling break. So they're trying to learn on the job right now. They're trying to get better. It's just difficult to do that because you start worrying about confidence.
Yeah, and you can even look one more week down the road, and Sandusky coming up for week 4. So I think, Ashland really could be staring at 0-4 in the face. You'd have to do a deep Google search to find out when the last time something like that happened over there. Totally different story for Mansfield Senior. Their schedule's a little bit soft over the next couple of weeks. They get Westerville North on the road. So for the Tigers, then West Holmes coming up after that, I imagine their confidence level right now that they got to be feeling like they can get to the midway point of the season with still a goose egg in that loss column.
It's amazing how the two things work the same. For Ashland, they don't want to be looking ahead. They're just trying to get that first win. And for the Tigers, it's the same. You look at, they got Westerville North coming up on the road. Now, they played very well the first 2 games, but on the road, you take a team that comes on the road overconfident. This is high school sports. We always have to remember these kids are 14 through 18 years old, and anything could happen. Their mindset, if their focus is a little bit off, the Warriors, I believe who they are at Westerville North, if they get off to a really quick start, say they put a couple of scores on early, Tigers, they haven't seen that yet, so you don't know how they're going to respond. So they really have to take it one game at a time. But I'm with you. I think they're showing some promise, and the road could, on paper, looks like an easy road. But I'm sure that the coaching staff would argue they've got some work to do yet.
And you feel like right now probably the best offense for the Tigers is their defense. They're just that good on the other side of the ball.
I was sitting at the game, and a friend of mine was watching. He said, the best thing about the Tiger offense is the Tiger defense. And, at this point, that's true, but that's because, that's how it works. At the end of the day, Cam Todd is a tremendous prospect, but, he doesn't have a huge body of work. So he's working into this season. It's his first time in a full schedule for Mansfield. I believe he's getting better. He had better numbers last night. I believe he'll continue to improve. But offenses generally are behind the defenses, and they do need to lean on their defense, and the Tiger defense is playing lights out. So the offense will improve with time.
And speaking of great defensive performances, the Shelby Whippets last night against Lexington, absolutely dominant. Eric Will is going to break it down a little bit further as he takes you over to the whiteboard and breaks down the big-time success that Shelby had last night against the Minutemen.
All right, so today we're going to take a look at the Shelby defense, and there's so many different ways to skin a cat on defense. What we're looking at is we got a spread situation here. We've got an H-back. Now, over here, Shelby's going to play cover 2 principles, so that's going to be basically a deep half safety playing with a corner playing. We're going to be reading Q2-1. Over here's the run side. When you look at this, you essentially have 4 players matched up on their 3 players. So Shelby likes this because you want to be balanced and you want numbers in your favor defensively. So what you're going to see here is we're going to see a stretch. So as the running back works this way, we got man principles over here. So you're going to see an arc release, maybe even like a wheel route this way. Number 1's going to run off. So what we have here is the force player becomes your defensive end. You're going to see Nathan Zahner here do a great job of getting his arms inside and working leverage this way. So we have our 3 technique here. This opens up a window for your will backer to shoot that gap. This play, make no mistake about it, is the Will's to make. The Will is your weak side linebacker. So as he comes through, he's got to shoot this window. The only way it can be done well is for this player to make sure that he holds the force, because with man principles, as he releases, this strong safety has to run with the H-back. So we're going to see that right here in this clip. So right away, you're seeing the action. We're moving here from right to left. You can see here, look at the hand placement, look at the arms. Nathan Zahner is winning the war of attrition right here. He's got his hands inside, good leverage, working outside. He is taught in practice, do not give up outside leverage. Here's your will backer right here coming in. And there's the play being made. So that's a great job, great schematics there by the defense, making sure that they have the numbers in their favor and making sure that they have a player at this position that can make that play. If the Will doesn't make that play, you got to find a new Will. Shelby has a very good Will. That's why that play works defensively.
All right, so I want to talk about if, in theory, how you want to beat Shelby's defensive attack as good as it is. Lexington had some trouble last night trying to get that done. But what I want to show from an offensive standpoint, how you could scheme your way and get some successful plays. Now, Lexington wanted to run the football. Of course they do. They got a record-setting back in the backfield. But where the weaknesses are when you look at a defense like Shelby's is on the perimeter. You have to be able to attack these guys here. And you do that in one or two ways. One, quick passes to these guys. All right? Force these defenders to tackle in space. So you either can throw quick throws here or throw quick throws to this side. The other thing you can do is have run-pass options for your quarterback. And the great thing about having a run-pass option for your quarterback is you get an extra blocker. So now here I am as a running back. I have to take an angle where they can fake the ball to him. As a quarterback, my eyes are here. If he comes down to chase the back, I keep it, and now I've got numbers because I can block here, my tackle goes down and blocks here, we get a double team here, and my quarterback is running free up the lane. So to counterattack the way that Shelby plays defense, you have to be able to get the quick throws or get an advantage numbers-wise in the blocking game. That's an effective way to beat such an aggressive defense.
So there's some X's and O's breakdowns from a couple of coaches' minds. Now let's show you all of the top individual performances that we had this week on our Friday Night Phenoms, brought to you by Baker's Collision. Let's begin here where we just finished on the whiteboard with the Shelby defensive front, who was awesome, Eric. 6 sacks in this game, and then Caden Berry, he's been getting talked about all week long and getting notable love, as he should, for breaking the school record last week. But he had 0 yards rushing until the end of the fourth quarter where he ripped off a long run. The defensive front for Shelby, lights out.
Right, and when you're talking about defensive fronts, there's really 2 or 3 things that make a good defensive front. Number one, having the big guys inside, being able to clog up that middle. Then you want explosive, fast, strong ends, and Shelby has 4 of those. When a good defensive front is going to occupy area and take bodies up, because linebackers should be the leading tacklers every single week, and Shelby's linebackers are the leading tacklers every single week. So that's what allows them to be a very good defense. Great defenses are a product of selfless play because those interior guys aren't getting a lot of glory. But when you get in those long passing situations, those 3rd and longs, those 2nd and longs, you start figuring things out down distance, you get to peel those ears back and go after the quarterback. So Shelby had Lexington in obvious throwing situations, and when that happens, look out, especially when you have guys that can get off the edge and get home.
Lucas's Carson Hogger checks in on our list this week. 4 total touchdowns for this kid, and he didn't have very many opportunities. So just about every time this dude touched the ball, he ended up in the end zone. Just a special day. Anytime you can taste Tater 4 times, come on, man.
Yeah, Carson Hogger was, to me, he's reaping the benefits of the offensive theoretical changes in Lucas and opening up a little bit, but at the same time, it's just like Lexington. When you got a horse like they did at running back last year, you have to give him the football. But right now, he's a beneficiary of the theoretical changes on offense, and he's really doing a great job showing his athleticism, getting out and outrunning defenses, getting behind DBs, doing what's called taking the top off of the defense. You haven't seen that for a long time in Lucas, and right now teams are really starting to see it. He's really done a great job, and actually the first 2 weeks, he's done a great job of taking advantage of defensive mismatch.
Yeah, and he got the juices flowing early this past week for the Cubs. Touchdown on the opening kickoff return. You gotta love that. McGuire Albert, the senior quarterback for the Shelby Whippets, 262 yards through the sky, 5 total touchdowns, ran for over 10 yards a clip, 2 on 6 carries. just overall, I thought McGuire managed the game well, and he hooked up with his boys for a lot of big plays.
Yeah, a couple different things there. Number one, I thought he was crisp. I thought he looked much better than week 1. So you could see that week 1 to week 2 improvement. People don't realize this, but when you spread the ball around, it keeps everybody interested. It keeps everybody engaged. And he did a great job. When you throw 5 touchdown passes and 4 of those go to different receivers, life's good. So you're keeping everybody engaged. And what it does is it allows people to, it causes people not to be able to load the box. So that creates numbers games. When you can be multiverse, being able to run the football with Owen Fisher and McGuire, and then you have the ability to hurt people through the air, that balance allows you to be really successful. And Coach Mahaney has brought a really nice offensive scheme, and those kids are executing at a high level.
Well, for now, the Whippets still unbeaten at 2-0. So are the Mansfield TY Tigers, and Michigan State commit Angelo Gross. 3 total touchdowns on his night. 3 catches, just 35 yards, but a couple of times he got into the end zone, and then the big-time 71-yard touchdown punt return. He just looks different when he's on the field. He's one of them special type of talents.
Absolutely, and I think a lot of people look at his speed and say, well, he's fast, but the kid has tremendous vision. Mm-hmm. He has tremendous vision, and his football IQ has grown tremendously since he's been playing as a freshman. And now you watch him play, and he sees little seams in the defense. He's starting to see the game before it actually happens, and you can tell when you add that with his athleticism, there's no way to keep him out of the end zone if you're a defensive back. So he's really now taking advantage of it. He's become a leader on that football team, and he is a huge playmaker for the Tigers. And he's a Michigan State recruit, and by all rights, he should be.
Yeah, they don't just recruit anybody to play in the
Right.
Big Ten.
Right.
Last but not least, our out of the area recipient this week, Bo Buttermore. And when you got a name like that, boy, you better be able to bring it. 17 of 22 through the air, 200 yards, 2 touchdowns against Clear Fork, who had not lost since 2016 in the regular season, folks. Also bursted in for a rushing touchdown. So Granville going on the road, ending Clear Fork's 21-game win streak. I felt like he deserved some props.
Yeah, he single-handedly allowed them to be successful. Now, with the help of others, obviously you got to give credit to that O-line. You got to give credit to the people on the perimeter doing their things. I saw some pretty nice catches out there. But he's also a coach's son. So when you're a coach's son, you have a little bit, generally speaking, you have a little bit more higher understanding of what's going on. He obviously is a very skilled athlete. You can just see by the touch on the passes and the highlights. He's been very well coached. You can tell he's a competitor. Runs the ball very, very hard, because I know this, that Clear Fork defense is no joke. And for him to be able to go in there on that day, new turf, the excitement, like I said, 21-game winning streak, for them to get out of there with the W, that says quite a bit about what that team is and probably where they're going down in that Columbus area.
So those are your Friday Night Phenoms, brought to you, good folks, by the good people over at Baker's Collision. So those were the top individual performances of the week. Now let's dive into the top 5 best plays that we saw under the Friday night lights, and our top 5 plays brought to you by North Central State College. Our first nominee goes out to the Shelby Whippets return stud Grant Gossam. He playing the game right chair that you're looking at answers the call right after a Lexington touchdown with a 6-piece of his own, plus an extra pack of sauce on the side. As he goes racing all the way to the end zone, incredible vision there on the run back, weaving his way through the defense 98 yards on the kick return cutting all the way to the house. A feat so impressive, even young people appreciate that. That's a long way to run that fast. Our next nominee was the play that came just before that last play you just saw. Caden Berry's got some tricky intentions here, sending the rock airborne downfield to a wide open Alex Green, and good luck catching that dude in the open field. Tally up 73 yards on the halfback pass, which gives Lexington the lead at the time. Just an awesome play design on their first play from scrimmage, as Berry making his way back onto the list after finishing as runner-up just last week. Let's move on to play number 3, and we're going to cover 75 more yards on this deep toss by Logan Niswander to teammate Carson Hogger. What a dime on that throw to the senior, who trades it in for a 6-pack of his own. 4 touchdowns for Hogger in this victory at Centerburg, showcasing it all right there on this play though. We got the wheels, we see the soft hands, the nice moves, and don't forget, that was one heck of a pass by Nice Wonder to set the whole thing up. At numero cuatro, Angelo Gross, welcome to the nominees. Ghost in the jackets right here like an old ex on a text. Kicking up some dust too on the sick comeback, skirt, skirt, and nobody's got an angle to catch this Ferrari. 71 yards covered on that play by the Mansfield TY Tiger. One of 3 trips to pay dirt for Gross in this game, but this gem right here, well, it just might be the best that we saw all week. Our final nominee takes us out to the Valley where quarterback Brennan South leads his dude just a bit too much. Big pop there, and then the interception by Granville's Zach Walsh, who somehow keeps his feet and gets him moving. Watch him zig and zag his way through a sea of bodies to set up the Blue Aces with great field position. Game-changing play right there by the Granville defense, a big reason why they won this game. Heck of a hit there too. Plus the pick definitely makes this worthy of your potential vote. So just overall impressions, 2 weeks into the football season, what have we learned? What do we know about these area teams that we've seen on the football field for a couple weeks?
Well, I think what we learned is there's tremendous coaching in this area. The adjustments made by coaching staffs, and particularly looking at the Lex Shelby game and how both coaches really looked to change the narrative of what had happened the week prior. Lexington, I knew they had to be thinking, look, they're going to try to stop the run. So Lexington came out and tried to throw the football, it just wasn't successful. Shelby, on the other hand, really hunkered down and were able to stop the Lex running attack. And other coaches done a great job in the area just adjusting to what game 1 had showed them. So I was impressed by that.
Yeah, you know, for me, I feel like most teams and players are holding serve right now, meaning I think that we thought Shelby would be 2-0, we thought Senior High would be 2-0. You know, when you start looking at the area teams, injuries are now going to become extremely important, but when you start looking moving forward, I think you're going to look back at week 2 and just start saying, okay, some of these teams separated themselves, and then some of the teams were kind of who we thought they were going to be, because there's a lot of excitement from week 1, and then week 2, you know, that reality starts to kind of settle in, and so we're going to have to see how teams bounce back week 3.
Yeah, week to week, I just love how, I don't know, the matchups and then the coaching, if you come in with a good game plan, you just kind of never know at the beginning of the season. So I think that week 2 was a pretty good indicator of that. Couple of coaches, like Effie said, had some solid game plans, and it showed on Friday night.
Right.
So look forward now into our crystal balls into week 3. What are your crystal ball bowl calls for the next Friday night, Eric? Where are you going with this?
You know what? I got a couple of them. I'm going to take Winford to go 2-1. Once again, they schedule tough. And I'm going to go Winford's going to be 2-1. Plymouth's going to be 3-0. And I'm going Ontario. Ontario's going to get the W. And then my surprise, I think I'm going to go with an upset here. I'm going to put this out there. I think Ashland beats Columbian.
Whoa. I don't think Effie's going there. Let's find out.
No comment. I think that's huge. That's huge. Now, you know, I'm going to make a bold prediction here, and you know, I don't think I'm going to stretch. I already said that I felt my bold prediction last week was that the Tigers would run the table this year, so I can't go against that. But at the same time, I am going to say, even though Westerville North is 0-3, I think the Tigers squeak it out. I think they go up on the road and they have a battle, and I think they win by a touchdown or less. In that game on the road, just because it's a new experience. They haven't been on the road yet against a quality program. They may not be a quality team this year, but they are a quality program at Westerville North. I'm looking at the Lex Clear Fork game, and you know, that's a game that I think is going to be huge in terms of the rivalry that exists there. But I think Lex is going to pull that one out, and I think Lex is going to come back from this, you know, really tough night they had against Shelby with a new focus, and I think they're going to clean some things up, and I think they're going to get the win against Clear Fork, which is going to put Clear Fork in an unfamiliar spot.
Yeah, that really would. That's why I don't feel like I can pick against the Colts next week, because from what we've seen the last couple of years, they just feel like they should be penciled into the playoffs. With Ontario returning home, actually it's going to be their home opener against Black River. I guess my bold call is that thing is going to be one of those clock kind of moving games. They're going to be up 30 plus in the third quarter, so the Warriors are going to win big on Friday night at home. Boys, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure whenever I can get you down here on a Saturday afternoon, and that's going to do it. Until next week. We'll see you then.